What's up, guys? So, I'm gonna do a breakdown for the first time, showing my face, showing myself, introducing myself on my channel. I do have another channel which is called GOKO Reacts, in which I check out a lot of beatbox content and Japanese music for now, but it's gonna be mainly focused around musical content. So, anyway. To briefly introduce myself, my name is Gordon, I go by GOKO, I have 12 albums so far, I'm an electronic music producer, and I'm about to drop the 13th album on May 1st. On this month, on the 20th of April, my single Diamonds will be available on YouTube and then of course on every other platform once the full album drops. So this is my single Diamonds, and I want to break down my mastering process, the way I master my music. For now, sometimes I include or exclude certain plugins, but majority of the time it looks something like this. This is my mastering chain, this, and also this, all these plugins. Now I don't have by the book, I don't really have a by the book approach when it comes to things, but I am using those recommended plugin types. Let's see, from when you search how to master a song, that's pretty much what I'm using. I'm using equalizing, compression, audio, imaging, and what else? That's pretty much it. Limiting maybe. Yeah, and some. Basically, those three categories will do everything. Actually, everything falls. Everything is a subcategory to those three when it comes to mixing and mastering. Now, what I do to save some CPU, I export my tracks in a new and put them in a new folder. And for this particular project, I've used the following master chain. As you can see, these are the plugins that I've used. I'm gonna break down each one separately. Let's show you the my track Diamonds. So I'm gonna select somewhere around the build up and the drop, just so you can get the gist.
You see our diamonds, they be lighting up the place.
Let's leave it up to that. The full song will be out on the 20th of April on this channel. Now, as I mentioned, I export all the tracks separately. So for example, I have the drums here. I have the lead. The stabs. Now I'm gonna do a separate breakdown. If you want to see how I've produced and created the elements, what plugins I've used, comment in the like this video and comment on the video if you want to see how I created these sounds, what I've used. I will do a separate breakdown on that, but first I'm gonna dedicate this video on the mastering chain specifically. Now let's turn off the effects. It sounds like this without effects.
You see our diamonds, they be lighting up the place.
And then with the effects, now, something I did not understand when I was a beginner is that you can't have a horrible mix and then fix it with mastering. A lot of engineers, all the good guys in the community have mentioned that and pointed that fact out. But I thought that there was some sort of a magical button that will fix everything, and it's called mastering, right? Was my thought process. It doesn't happen. So here I am 12, 13 years later, kind of having it together, let's say. And what I have realized is, apart from using the equalizing, imaging, and compression, you will experiment with lots of different plugins, and these are my favorite plugins. The order, the schedule will not make sense for a lot of engineers, a lot of the top guys. So don't judge it. It's still my taste. A recipe can be, amended individually. So this is my recipe, and this is how I'm getting to the audio that I want to listen to. So after many and many fails and iterations. So let's see. Turning on the effects. First, I have chosen master plan. Oh, I have to detach, so bear with me. I'm gonna have to detach these. They're all attach them back actually to the software. They're all detached. I have two screens in front of me, and so I'm using the second screen to look at the effects as they are detached. So this is master plan. I'm cutting the lows here. I am increasing the width of the imaging. This is the spectrum. This gives you times 2 of the current imaging, so it will expand the spectrum, allegedly, right? No, it does make a big difference. Minus 0.7 decibels on the lows, and here again, and I'm using this button, smooth. In theory, it says smooth, very gentle compression that smooths the overall sound. I trust it. I've tested it, and it has some sort of a micro adjustment, so you will not be able to kind of hear. For the first plugin, this does make a huge difference now because of the imaging especially, and I love it. And I used to use it at the end of the chain, somewhere around the end of the chain, but now I'm using it as a first plugin because, I don't know, after many iterations, many attempts, I decided to do it that way. So immediately I have a different perspective on my spectrum, and then I'm taking it from there. So usually once I apply these changes, which are probably around these values for all the tracks, once I apply them, I will adjust some of the elements. For example, I'll lower the kick, or I don't know, increase the volume on the lead, or decrease the volume on the lead, or the drums, or whatever. I do a few adjustments after using these values. Now, bear in mind, there is no set and forget. There is no one magical button that will do your mastering, so you have to adjust knobs all the time and listen actively, attentively all the time. So there is no, if I save this mastering chain, and then if I export another track and apply this, it's not gonna do good on that track. So every track does need separate attention and nurturing and separate approach. So next plugin is Elevate by Newfangled. It is a mixer for the whole audio as a whole, but it's just easier. You have a better perspective of the things, and usually I cut the low end a little bit. I'm playing with the low end and the frequencies that are missing, but this time the spectrum looked good, and most importantly sounded good, so I did not lower or adjust any other frequencies. What other go-to things that I do is lower this button, the limiter gain, which is set at 2 decibels by default, and I set my transients to clean. I don't emphasize them because in electronic music we don't usually do. I think it's not usually. Everybody wants clean and low transients. It's more meant to kind of emphasize acoustic instruments and vocals, maybe with different approach, but there's a lot of gain staging, and a lot of volume increasing at the very end with the limiter, and so when your transients are loud, it will expose them at the very end. It's never good for electronic music. It's not about that much detail at the end of an electronic mix. You want the whole mix to sound full, compact, and steady, and aggressive and powerful, depending on the genre, of course. But with this specific track, that's what I'm aiming for. So I am also using this value at 200%. It's transient emphasis per band. Now, that could only apply if the transient is set to emphasized, but I am assuming that it works on clean, so I'm assuming it emphasizes the cleanliness. So next plugin is Pro Q, which is the best equalizer in the game right now, and the 4 Pro Q4 is also available, I think. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting the lows, both in the mid and in the full, in the stereo and in the mid sections. The stereo is basically the full mix, so this you are adapting, you're changing the mix as a whole. However, I do kind of double down on it with addressing the mids as well, and so here I have emphasized the dynamic range of the mids, which will kind of pull the kick every time it hits around this area, around 70 hertz. So I've concluded that this is the area where this particular kick hits, and then what I do next is I am cutting the sides up to 110 hertz. In this track, usually I do it up to 200 hertz, like somewhere around here. So next, OTT industry standard as well. This is the gift from the audio gods. It's a free plugin. Make sure to get it. If you don't have this plugin, you are not doing yourself a favor. So it is a multi-band compressor. Absolute game changer. You have lots of very easy ways to control the mix as a whole, and even separate sounds like leads or drums or whatever, like drum chain, whatever you want to do. So usually my depth is around 5 to 7, maybe 10 sometimes, and what this button does is applies the attack and the release on all of these equalizing buttons. So this is lows, mids, and highs. It's a kind of rough way to control the spectrum, the audio spectrum. And this has the attack and the release. So to the left at 50% is quicker attack and release, and to the right is slower attack and release. So usually I use the quicker attack and release. For some reason it just sounds better to my ears. Upward compression, I've lowered it. I don't want too much upward compression. And downward compression also. The way this works, it gives your kick it emphasizes your kick a little bit, but your kick has to be perfectly adjusted and leveled. Until this point, this is just like micromanaging at this point. So let me skip to the other plugin. Now it's the imaging part for me. This is how my imaging looks with TR5 quad image. I use 2 imagers, one after another. I want my first image to look like this, my first spectrum to look like this. I'm putting the highs very low, kind of monoing and narrowing down the highs for some reason. I don't know why. I like to do it that way. It gives me better control, because most of my music is around this range up to here. Let's say that this is the max you can pull it, by the way. So up to here, and then what I do is I decide you can hear immediately how emphasized the spectrum is. What I do is I control the highs separately, And this part I emphasize it from 1000 hertz to 10,000 hertz. This is where everything is going on in this track. So stereoizing. I don't even know how to say it. This is just kind of boosting the current image that you have already, and recovering sides. These are turned off by default, so I always turn them on. I want as wider of an image as possible. I believe everybody's aiming for it as well. Lows, all mono up 200, all the way to 200 hertz, and then this area from 200 to 1000 is kind of narrowed, just so I can have the rest of the spectrum express itself. In this time I have boosted the highs from 10,000 hertz to all the way to 20, or what is it, I'm not sure. So anyway, you should play with this, and whenever you play with this, most importantly, use your ears. Before all theory and all numbers, use your ears. They will lead you far. Up next is Pro Q. Let me Pro Q. What this trick does is, from experienced producer engineer called Streaky, available on YouTube. Follow this guy. He has been a game changer from my approach, and I'll tell you why. There's also one more trick that I've learned from him. What this does is, you should use hook theory. You just write on Google hook theory cheat sheet actually, or which is better yet, watch Streaky's video on hook theory. And I'm not sure how to find it, to be honest. If I do, I will make sure to put it in the description, but don't count on it for now. I will edit this video late, so I'm not sure I'm going to remember it. Now I'm cutting the lows again up to 20 hertz here. And what this does is, if your track is in D major, which mine is, you go to hook theory, the link, the website that I've mentioned, and find the scale that, or you can find it somewhere else actually. You just type in D major and it will give you all the notes that are in this scale, and you can select them by double clicking. Now I'm not sure how to delete. There you go. So if I delete this, and if you double click, you select a note here on the piano roll. Now what I do here, I set the bandwidth to the most narrow, as narrow as possible, the band gain -2 dB, and the dynamic range down to -6. For every note in this spectrum where the most melodic parts of the compositions are, these are highs and these are not dominating the spectrum, and these are lows. They're more or less complementary, let's say, and they are for more advanced audio spectrums, like for actual audio equipment. But so you select all the notes that are not in the scale D major, and you lower them down to kind of let the actual notes in the scale that makes your composition kind of give them a way to express themselves more. So you lower down the frequencies that are interfering with the actual scale. That's the whole thing, and it's a game changer. I love it so far. If anything, it's one of the coolest things in theory, in my opinion. Up next I have Soothe. Absolute game changer. Love this plugin. I have two instances. The first one is placed here, as you can see. Maybe I should zoom this a little bit, So I use soft and digital tops, this preset in the mastering section. Usually I play around this range to -1 to 1, so this is the max I'm going, and it will smooth out the high frequencies. Such a game changer, I promise. So okay, this is also turned on, so I'm not making too much of a difference right now, but yeah. Up next is glue compressor. This is also one of Streaky's tricks. Let's hear it before and after. The way this is applied is, you can see the attack is set to maximum attack and the release is set to minimum, and the maximum ratio and the sidechain up to 200 hertz, which means it will avoid those frequencies. The compression will avoid those frequencies, and everything else will be compressed and flattened out except for the kick. That's why the kick, you lower it as much as possible leading up to this point, but it has to also make sense and still carry the composition. It's not like you will lower it to a point where it's not audible. Now, the threshold, as recommended by some of the guys that I've kind of been mentored by, I take it to a degree where it will compress up down to 4 decibels. This is minus 4 decibels, and what it does is, if visually, if your mix, let's say, it looks like this, right, it will compress the peaks and make it flatter, and then you will, I give it 1 additional decibel with the makeup button, which gives volume. Now, I'm not sure if it gives volume to the places where that have been that are lacking audio or whatever, but I'm really not, or just the overall audio, I'm really not sure how it works. However, definitely use this trick if you can. Up next is Golfus Master. I checked out this plugin from JSCar, so shout out to JSCar as well. I am only using it, the recover button. Every time I use glue, I use recover 10% and brighten 10%. And you see it recognizes recovering points in this area of the spectrum. Not right now, this is just kind of like delayed response, but here in this area and in the low ends a little bit, so it recovers the frequencies that are potentially lost and that need to be brought back in the spectrum. So it's pretty automated. People used to do all these things manually throughout the years, and now we are at a point where we have a lot of automated stuff. Again, here I have Soothe, Master by Goodwin, preset, depth at 4, and I'm good to go. Doubling down, you might wonder why, because I like to do it and it sounds good in my ears, so that's pretty much the only argument. I love the plugin. For this particular one, I've used compression again. Now, the way I've used the SSL native fuzz compressor this time is completely the opposite. The attack is at the quickest response, and the release also is at the quickest response again. And this will only touch the peaks that at the track. So if it's peaking, it will not slowly address them, right? It will not attack them slowly, but as soon as it peaks, it goes right to a certain point. So minus, let's see, around minus 2 decibels, it will compress them down. So it's controlling the mix not to vary that much. So we're trying to get a leveled mix throughout this whole gain staging. It's called gain staging. You're trying to get a leveled mix at a level point and make it as loud as possible. And as clear as possible, but you have to have a clear mix before doing this. Now, up next I have virtual tape, because I don't know, just because I want to. Again, it does give it just gives me that warm, smooth sound for some reason. These are the features I have used. So I love the change that it made on this particular track, and the final is invisible limiter. This is gonna. This is absolute game changer. Let's take it like this. So. Once everything is good, you can play with the final volume amount. Have decided that the optimal volume is here. Also, it's a little bit of an OCD thing probably to go for this value, but whatever. Oversampling at highest, and that's pretty much it with the mastering. Now, mind you, once you are doing this, is also the final touch of the gain staging with the limiter. The limiter will set the ceiling for the mix. However, you can play with the volume, but a lot of times you will have to lower down a kick, lower down a snare as well, or the lead once you are leveling up the volume from the limiter as well. So it's all, you're playing with the mixer the whole time while you're doing this. So there's no process that is kind of set and forget. You have to play live with all the plugins and all the tracks on the mixer. And then throughout this whole time I have Julian loudness meter, and it tells me how many LUFS my track is. Usually I'm aiming to set it below 8 to give it that loudness. LUFS is perceived loudness meter, some sort of a perceived loudness meter, and you have all sorts of LUFS values. Let's say short term, integrated I believe is what the average of oh no, this is the average. Okay, so integrated is, I don't know, I have no idea what it is. Average dynamics. Anyway, I'm always looking at the short term and the integrated LUFS, which I'm aiming to go below 8 for what in my opinion is optimal level of loudness. For electronic tracks, we like it loud and aggressive, and that's what I'm aiming for. It doesn't have to end up there. So the thing is, if you have a muddy mix, the loudness is not going to sound pleasant. But if your mix is clean and crispy up to this point, you will able to just push and push and push on the limiter to get the loudness that you want without destroying the track. Another one that I have is span. This is throughout the whole time. I have this throughout the whole time available to see how my mix is performing. So you want, ideally you want a full spectrum of sounds, right? My mix is kind of lacking a little bit in the highs and in this area, in the muddy area, but that's what makes it special in my opinion. You don't have to just technically and visually have it full. It does have to sound nice first. So if I were to fulfill these ones, it will compromise something in the audio in this specific case, in my opinion and from my experience. And one more thing is Real Phones, which is a reference plugin. So it lets you hear your song on how it will perform on in these environments, such as a concert hall, large concert hall with 7,200 seats. You can hear it in all sorts of players. You have TV. my favorite plugin lately. So it gives you a perspective of what your song, how your song would sound on different audio systems. And that was it, guys. One final thing, you see these automation clips that you might be wondering what they are. So what I do here, this is additional EQing. This one is equalize automation that I have failed to implement in the mixing stage, so I'm fixing stuff at the very latest minute. Before the drop, I want to use this trick that is kind of narrowing the stereo into a mono. As the drop develops, it goes into mono.
You see our diamonds, they be lighting up the place.
It goes, oh, I forgot I had this on, sorry.
You see our diamonds, they be lighting up the place.
So it goes into mono, right? It builds up, and you listen to, there's like tension, 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 and it builds up, and then there's the pre-drop phrase, and the drop just boom expands on the whole spectrum. This is what it does. This is the first plugin, Master Plan. It's the width button. I'm narrowing it down, and then it drops again on the very drop part, and this is on the mastering button itself, the stereo separation, or bringing everything to mono. My kick is automated here, the volume of the kick, the vocal of the track. Obviously it sounds like this. So I decided at this stage that it's just too loud to start at this volume level, so I had to adjust it once I did all the mastering, all the gain staging, and I played my composition. It was too many elements at once for my ear, so I had to make a quick adjustment here by lowering volumes and the kick, and then also a final mixing touch, what happens sometimes. And there is compression here. I'm also lowering the volume level, and the drop, it goes, and then once the drop arrives, it just goes boom again in your face. So let's play it one more time, and that's it. This song will be out on the 20th of April.
Lighting up the place, 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 lighting up the, lighting up the, lighting up the, lighting up the, lighting. You see our diamonds, they be lighting up the place.
That was it, guys. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, any suggestions, make sure to ask in the comments. Thank you for watching this long ass video.